Happy Tuesday, good people. It's another glorious day in GVA land. And today we are finishing up session IC4, finally, with IC4.c. And same I can statement still. We're still in session 4. If you've got 17 pages of notes for session 4, that's okay. Have as many pages as you need, but make sure you're putting notes in your characterization notebook. Please remember to sign up for Loop. A couple more people signed up yesterday. Ladies and gentlemen, it's not that hard. I'm really a little disappointed that more people haven't done it. It's a simple direction. It is an expectation, and you should do it whether you decide to show up for my class or not. Today, we're going to read a quick story called Charles and talk about character perspective. You'll see on the bookshelf today, you will have an activity for character perspective. You will see the IC4 practice it still, which is where the short stories are. I would like for you to read another short story, and I would like for you to practice looking at your perspective on the story and determining whether it is your perspective that changes or whether it is the character who actually changes. And I think what I'm going to have you do today is I have, along with Charles, of course, I've broken it out for you. You're going to take some notes as I read the story. And then after you've done that, you can apply those notes to the character perspective. So don't do character perspective until after we finish Charles. I don't know that I'll read the whole story today, but I would like to. We'll see how long it takes. So still the escape room is here too if you want to, just play around a little bit once you're done with all of your work. And a quick reminder, if you do not have a Gaston County issued device, you need to get one this week because we are doing NC check-ins next week and you cannot do it on a personal device. All right, that being said, I want you to go to Canvas and assignments, and I want you to open up the guided assignment that's called, I think it's called IC4 Charles. This is a story written by the short story author Shirley Jackson. She's very big on irony. That's why I like her a lot. Let us wait for this to load. All right, again, you know what to do here. You're going to try to open it and it's going to say, make a copy of it. At least I think it is. Or maybe it just gives you a copy. Or maybe it's because it's mine. I don't know. Any way you look at it, that's just fine. Here's the story. It's not very long. It's a few pages. As you read, I want you to complete your notes to use for the perspective assignment, which follows. So I want you to write down any dialogue here that you think is important or any actions, anything that the characters do in the story. Sometimes those actions tell you more about a character than the words themselves. Let's make this a little bit bigger because I'm old. All right, so you can follow along. I want you to make your notes as I read. Don't wait until I stop and say, okay, here, put some notes down. You need to learn when it's time to make notes. If you hear something important, if you hear something pertinent, write it down. Now remember, these are notes. These do not have to be complete sentences. Charles by Shirley Jackson. The day my son Laurie started kindergarten, he renounced corduroy overalls with bibs and began wearing blue jeans with a belt. I watched him go off the first morning with the older girl next door, seeing clearly that an era of my life was ended. My sweet-voiced nursery school tot replaced by a long-trousered, swaggering character who forgot to stop at the corner and waved goodbye to me. So, in my dialogue box, I might make some notes about the fact that the mother is a little melancholy, a little bit sad that her baby boy is growing up. And the actions that we see here are the change in the boy, where he goes from wearing overalls with bibs, kind of that toddler look, to the big boy pants. And he doesn't stop and wave goodbye to mom. He's getting a little bit of independence. Those are the kind of things I would put in dialogue and action. That's what we're looking for, ladies and gentlemen. Let's continue. He came home the same way, the front door slamming open, his cap on the floor, and the voice suddenly become raucous, shouting, "Isn't anybody here?" At lunch, he spoke insolently to his father, spilled his baby sister's milk, and remarked that his teacher said we were not to take the name of the Lord in vain. "How was school today?" I asked, elaborately casual. "All right," he said. "Did you learn anything?" his father asked. Laurie regarded his father coldly. "I didn't learn nothing," he said. "Anything," I said. "Didn't learn anything." Again, there's a lot going on here, so you should be taking some notes. If you need to stop this video to make your notes, stop the video, make your notes, and then start again. "The teacher spanked a boy, though," Laurie said, addressing his bread and butter, "for being fresh." "Oh, for being fresh," he added with his mouth full. "What did he do?" I asked. "Who was it?" Laurie thought. It was Charles," he said. "He was fresh. The teacher spanked him and made him stand in a corner. He was awfully fresh." "Well, what did he do?" I asked again. But Laurie slid off his chair, took a cookie, and left while his father was still saying, "See here, young man." The next day, Laurie remarked at lunch, as soon as he sat down, "Well, Charles was bad again today." He grinned enormously and said, "Today, Charles hit the teacher." "Good heavens," I said, mindful of the Lord's name. "I suppose he got spanked again?" "He sure did," said Laurie. "Look up," he said to his father. "What?" his father said, looking up. "The Library of America, Story of the Week excerpt from Shirley Jackson novel, The Library of America." Oh my, that's the end part that goes, oh, skip that part. We're going to go back down to skipping. I do apologize. This is taking on a life of its own. "Look down," Laurie said. "Look at my thumb." "Gee, you're dumb." He began to laugh insanely. "Why did Charles hit the teacher?" I asked quickly. "Because she tried to make him color with red crayons," Laurie said. "Charles wanted to color with green crayons, so he hit the teacher, and she spanked him and said nobody play with Charles." But everybody did. The third day, it was Wednesday of the first week, Charles bounced a seesaw onto the head of a little girl and made her bleed. And the teacher made him stay inside all during recess. Thursday, Charles had to sit in the corner during a story time because he kept pounding his feet on the floor. Friday, Charles was deprived of blackboard privileges because he threw chalk. On Saturday, I remarked to my husband, "Do you think that kindergarten is too unsettling for Laurie? All this toughness and bad grammar, and this Charles boy sounds like such a bad influence." "It'll be all right," my husband said reassuringly. "Bound to be people like Charles in the world. Might as well meet them now as later." So remember, pause the video, take your notes. On Monday, Laurie came home late, full of news. "Charles," he shouted as he came up the hill. I was waiting anxiously on the front steps. "Charles!" Laurie yelled all the way up the hill. Charles was bad again. "Come right in," I said, as soon as he came close enough. "Lunch is waiting." You know what Charles did? He demanded, following me through the door. Charles yelled so in school that they sent a boy in from first grade to tell the teacher she had to make Charles keep quiet. And so Charles had to stay after school. And so all the children stayed with him. What did he do? I asked. He just sat there, Laurie said, climbing into his chair at the table. Hi, Pop, you old dust mop. Charles had to stay after school again today, I told my husband. Everyone stayed with him. What does this Charles look like? My husband asked Laurie. What's his other name? Mm, he's bigger than me, Laurie said, and he doesn't have any rubbers and he doesn't ever wear a jacket. Monday night was the first parent teacher meeting, and only the fact that the baby had a cold kept me from going. I wanted passionately to meet Charles' mother. On Tuesday, Laurie remarked suddenly, our teacher had a friend come to see her in school today. Charles' mother? My husband asked. Oh, my husband and I asked simultaneously. Nah, Laurie said scornfully. It was a man who came and made us do exercises. We had to touch our toes. Look. He climbed down from his chair and squatted down and touched his toes. Like this, he said. He got solemnly back into his chair and said, picking up his fork, Charles didn't even do exercises. That's fine, I said heartily. Didn't Charles want to exercise? Nah, Laurie said. Charles was so fresh to the teacher's friend, he wasn't let do exercises. Fresh again? I said. He kicked the teacher's friend, Laurie said. The teacher's friend told Charles to touch his toes like I just did, and Charles kicked him. What are they going to do about Charles, do you suppose? Laurie's father asked him. Laurie shrugged elaborately. Throw him out of school, I guess, he said. Wednesday and Thursday were routine. Charles yelled during story hour and hit a boy in the stomach and made him cry. On Friday, Charles stayed after school again, and so did all the other children. With the third week of kindergarten, Charles was an institution in our family. The baby was being a Charles when she cried out all afternoon. Laurie did a Charles when he filled his wagon full of mud and pulled it through the kitchen. Even my husband, when he caught his elbow in the telephone cord and pulled the telephone ashtray and a bowl of flowers off the table, said after the first minute, looks like Charles. So we're getting a good picture of Charles here, aren't we? I hope you're writing about him. During the third and fourth weeks, it looked like a reformation in Charles. Laurie reported grimly at lunch on Thursday of the third week. Charles was so good today, the teacher gave him an apple. What? I said. And my husband added warily, You mean Charles? Charles, Laurie said. He gave crayons around and he picked up the books afterward, and the teacher said he was her helper. So maybe a different side of Charles is coming on, correct? What happened? I asked incredulously. He was her helper, that's all, Laurie said and shrugged. Can this be true about Charles? I asked my husband that night. Can something like this happen? Wait and see, my husband said cynically. When you've got a Charles to deal with, this may mean he's only plotting. He seemed to be wrong. For over a week, Charles was the teacher's helper. Each day he handed things out, and he picked things up. No one had to stay after school. So maybe Charles has seen the light. The PTA meeting's next week again, I told my husband one evening. I'm going to find Charles' mother there. Ask her what happened to Charles. My husband said, I'd like to know. I'd like to know myself, I said. On Friday of that week, things were back to normal. You know what Charles did today? Laurie demanded at the lunch table in a voice slightly awed. He told a little girl to say a word, and she said it. and the teacher washed her mouth out with soap, and Charles laughed. What word? His father asked unwisely, and Laurie said, I'll have to whisper it to you. It's so bad. He got down off his chair and went around to his father. His father bent his head down, and Laurie whispered joyfully. His father's eyes widened. Did Charles tell the little girl to say that? He asked respectfully. She said it twice, Laurie said. Charles told her to say it twice. What happened to Charles? My husband asked. Nothing, Laurie said. He was passing out the crayons. Monday morning, Charles abandoned the little girl and said the evil word himself 3 or 4 times, getting his mouth washed out with soap each time. He also threw chalk. So remember how I told you characters ebb and flow? Charles started out one way, then he turned another way. Maybe he's coming back again. It's never a direct route. My husband came to the door with me that evening, and I set out for the PTA meeting. Invite her over for a cup of tea after the meeting, he said. I want to get a look at her. If only she's there, I said prayerfully. She'll be there, my husband said. I don't see how they could hold a PTA meeting without Charles' mother. At the meeting, I sat restlessly, scanning each comfortable matronly face, trying to determine which one hid the secret of Charles. None of them looked to me haggard enough. No one stood up in the meeting and apologized for the way her son had been acting. No one mentioned Charles. After the meeting, I identified myself and sought out Laurie's kindergarten teacher. She had a plate with a cup of tea and a piece of chocolate cake. I had a plate with a cup of tea and a piece of marshmallow cake. We maneuvered up to one another cautiously and smiled. I've been so anxious to meet you, she said. I'm Laurie's mother. We're all so interested in Laurie, she said. Well, he certainly likes kindergarten, I said. He talks about it all the time. We had a little trouble adjusting it for the first week or so, but now he's a fine little helper. With occasional lapses, of course. Laurie usually adjusts very quickly, I said. I suppose this time it's Charles' influence. Charles? Yes, I said, laughing. You must have your hands full in that kindergarten with Charles. Charles, she said. We don't have any Charles in the kindergarten. Dun dun dun. Think about what just happened. Think about who's telling the story and who's telling the story within a story, and about whom are they talking, and how does that character change? Does that character change? What words, what dialogue, what conversation did you write down? What actions did you write down? You're going to use this document to complete the characterization document, which is in assignments under independent work. So once you've completed this, open up the independent work document and use these notes to complete that document. And that, ladies and gentlemen, ends our discussion for today. Please remember that tomorrow is Wednesday. You will have an iReady assignment, and I will post it probably Tuesday night, tonight. Please remember Wednesday is not a day off. It is a work day, an independent work day. You have a lot of work to do for all of your classes. And as I talk to your teachers, it's not getting done for many of you. So please step up, be 8th graders, and do your job. And I will talk to you next time. Peace out, people.